Howdy, boys and girls. Did you know that April 21st is Florida Agriculture Literacy Day? That's right, and I get to share with you today this great book called Drive Through Florida, Livestock and Poultry. So, what is livestock? What is poultry? Well, let's find out. Howdy, my name is Old Red. I'm an old truck, but I'm not as old as agriculture. Do you know what agriculture is? Agriculture has been around for a long time, and whether you know it or not, it's an important part of your everyday life. So hop on board and come along as we visit livestock and poultry farms throughout Florida. They are spread from north to south to east to west, so get ready for quite a ride. Let's start in Okeechobee County to learn about cattle. Highlands and Osceola counties have many cows. Cattle ranching is the job of owning, raising, and working cattle. People in these jobs are called cattlemen or cattlewomen. 1880 cattlemen. Cattle have been in Florida for almost 500 years. Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon brought them here in boats in 1520. Would you believe Florida has nearly 1.6 million beef cattle? Woohoo! That puts Florida in the top 15 states for the number of cattle. When Florida cattle reach about 400 to 500 pounds, they are sold and shipped to the west and Midwest, where they continue to grow until they are big enough to be harvested. Cattle ranches help many people's jobs, and that is good for Florida's economy. People, don't forget about the grocery stores and restaurants that sell the beef. People who work there benefit when you enjoy these yummy hamburgers and steaks. Some common types of beef cattle are Angus, Hereford, Brahman, and they get your hamburger like me. Let's visit some of Florida's dairy farms. Many are here in Okeechobee County. Lafayette and Suwannee counties further north also have lots of dairy cows. Did you know that some breeds of cattle are best at providing meat and others are best for producing milk? We call the cows that are good at producing milk dairy cows. Dairy cows were first brought to America in 1611 through Jamestown, Virginia. Most dairy cows are Holsteins. Holsteins usually have black and white or red and white spots. An average Holstein cow weighs 1,400 pounds. But they don't need to go on a diet. They need to eat about 100 pounds of feed each day and drink up to 50 gallons of water. Woo-hoo! We have more than 130 dairy farms in Florida, and almost all of them are family-owned. Sometimes dairy farmers are up before the sun. Cows need to be milked 2 or 3 times a day, starting in the early morning. Within 2 or 3 days, their milk will be in your neighborhood grocery store. If you like milk, cheese, and yogurt, and butter, thank our Florida dairy farmers. In the old days, cows were milked by hand, but now they're milked mechanically. And Florida has more than 120,000 dairy cattle, producing more than 270 milk. Hop back in. We're driving from Okeechobee to Hillsborough County because a lot of our hogs are there. Hogs and pigs. If you like sausage or bacon with your breakfast, remember that these foods come from swine. Swine is the term for hogs and pigs. How did these animals get to Florida? It is generally believed that Ponce de Leon introduced swine in Florida in 1521. But Hernando de Soto is often called the father of American pork. Does it take a lot of work to care for hogs? You bet it does. Many breeds of hogs and pigs raised for sale in Florida and the rest of the U.S. are crossbreeds of Yorkshire, Hampshire, and Duroc. Much effort goes into raising hogs and pigs. Even a small farm will need at least 2 acres so they are not too close to neighbors. They also need shade and an open fronted shelter and a covered self-feeder. Like every animal, there are males and females. The females are called sows and the males are called boars. A young female that has not had a litter of baby pigs is called a gilt. Farrowing is the word used for giving birth to pigs. Boars eat between 5 and 8 pounds of food each day. A sow generally eats about 4 pounds of food each day. However, after she has a litter, she can eat up to 12 pounds of food per day and require up to 7 gallons of. How about some fun facts? Did you know that insulin and 40 other medicines come from pigs? A pig is a young hog. Pigs weigh approximately 2.5 pounds at birth, and a pig can run a 7-minute mile. Coach Braun will be impressed by that. Pigs have gone to war, serving as mine sniffers. Here's a picture of Hereford pigs and hogs with a furrowing tunnel. Yeehaws! Travel to Hernando and Suwannee counties for some poultry. Poultry can mean chicken, but it can also include turkeys, ducks, and geese. All poultry have feathers, but no teeth or sweat glands. The most common is the chicken. In the early part of the 1900s, many households had their own backyard flocks. These chickens supplied eggs for a family and an occasional chicken for Sunday or holiday dinners. All eggs sold in retail markets must meet quality standards. Grades AA or A are the highest quality eggs and are sold in supermarkets. Nowadays, the majority of meat producers are in North Florida, in Suwannee County. The breed of chicken that is raised for meat is called the Cobb and is a cross between the Cornish game and the Plymouth Rock chickens. This chicken grows fast and is disease resistant. In the 1950s, the poultry industry took off. How about some fun chicken facts? Each year, between 50 and 70 million broilers are sold at the grocery store. Florida egg producers rank 10th in the United States. Florida hens lay 2.5 billion eggs per year, and Americans eat more than 80 pounds of chicken per year per person. That's a whole lot of chicken. Let's travel a little further south to Marion County and learn about horses. Just like some cattle breeds, horses first came into the States when early Spanish explorers brought them to this continent. Some of them escaped their owners and are the descendants of today's Florida cracker horses. Before we had trucks and cars, horses were very important to settling Florida. Some of the early settlers used horses to help herd cattle, pull wagons and plows, and even take children to school. In the 1930s, racetracks were built near Miami and Tampa Bay. Some people tried to raise thoroughbred horses in South Florida, but they soon learned that Central Florida had the best land to raise good race horses. By the 1950s, there were some very good thoroughbred horse farms in Marion County. Other horses were raised to herd cattle, and they were called quarter horses. People outside Florida laughed at the idea of raising horses in sandy, palm tree-filled Florida. Let's stay here in Marion County. It has the most goats of all Florida counties, about 3,500. Goats were also brought to North America by Spanish explorers, but their history goes back farther than that. They were the first animal domesticated by man more than 10,000 years ago. Here's some ancient cave paintings of goats. Today, all Florida counties have goats. Most goats farms are between 10 and 50 acres. What do parents and goats have in common? They all have kids. All kidding aside, goats are also important to Florida. There are about 50,000 goats in the state. There are lots of several types of goats, including goat breeds that are raised just for their meat. There are the Boer goats, Mytonic, which are the ones that are called the fainting goat. They don't really faint, but their legs get stiff when they get startled. Let's travel down south. There are lots of sheep here in Miami-Dade County. Have you ever heard you can go to sleep by counting sheep? If you count all 18,000 sheep in Florida, you may never go to sleep. There are lots of sheep in Miami-Dade County, but Palm Beach and Marion counties also have sheep too. Sheep have been here since the 15th century. Many people think the Florida native was brought here by Spanish and French explorers. We've come to the end of our tour of Florida livestock and poultry farms. I hope you have had a good time and learned some new things. Now that you're an expert on animal agriculture, you can look for these animals throughout Florida and even at your local grocery store. Tell people what you've learned and how hard Florida farmers work to keep you and your family fed and their animals healthy and our state prosperous. See you on our next trip. Goodbye.